Wood, and I am the weaver from the Wooden Looms. And I'm sitting in my house doing this introduction because I can't bring my looms with me. But I'm a weaver and a knitter and a spinner. I've been knitting since I was a teenager, but I started spinning in 1994. My mother started weaving in 1985, and we used to do work together. And I started spinning, and spinning led to weaving because I was getting all this yarn. So I'm sort of a self-taught weaver. My mother and I did attend classes, so a lot of reading, a lot of reading and asking questions and that. For most of my weaving, I'm still learning. Sometimes I try something, it doesn't work out. Sometimes it works out. I did take a left face weaving class, which you normally like your Navajo rugs or what they call chamayo or the Rio Grande style, where you don't see any of the warp. It's all patterns in that. Like the two that are behind me, those are what they call left faced. One is a Navajo, one is a chamayo. Things that frustrate me in weaving, well, one thing is sometimes it takes so long to weave something that, especially like if you're doing like a rug or that, you might be 20 inches done and you still got another 30 inches to do. And if it's a left face, it takes a long time. I used to get little discussions with my mother. Says, well, you're not weaving enough. I said, Mom, I'm working a full-time job. So when I come home, if I feel like weaving, I'll weave. If I don't feel like weaving, I'm not going to weave. So it's one of those. It says I have to have a full-time job to support my craft. It's sort of like having a full-time job to be a farmer now. It's the same idea. Things cost, so you got to have something to bring income in. Another issue I have is sometimes I can picture things in my head. I can say, oh yeah, this is going to work, and then I start working on it and it's not coming out what I think it should be, or I might make a mistake. Part of my head says, oh no, you should rip it out. Or as we call unweave. And then I start thinking, okay, how many people are going to know there's a mistake there? Only me, unless I point it out to someone. So those are things that I have to deal with when I'm weaving. If I'm feeling like something's not working out right, I'm less likely to continue on with it. A lot of the creativity comes from traveling in that. I get ideas in my head. Sometimes I do them, sometimes I don't. I know a couple of years ago, a friend and I were driving up through, close to the Ghost Ranch where George O'Keeffe used to live. And I said it'd be neat to do a tapestry of the Red Mountains and that. And I mean, we were going to a yarn shop and I picked out the yarns. Have I started that tapestry? No. Will I? Well, maybe someday. Or the yarn might get used for something else. So a lot of times I get ideas, I store them in the back of my head. A lot of my ideas, I look at what the Navajo have been doing for some of the patterns. some of the patterns I play around. Some of the things I see from fellow weavers. I don't copy them, but I say, hey, that texture looks neat, or that color combination, or the way you put the two colors together, that looks neat. And so I do it that way. Or if I see a pattern, I'm weaving what they call wrapping cloths, and I love the pattern that's there. I said, okay, I could see that pattern being used for like a scarf or for a baby blanket or something like that. So it's sort of the creativity of taking the bank of knowledge I have, the people that I follow and talk with, taking ideas that they've come up with and mixing them all together. Or sometimes, as a friend of mine says, I just start weaving, especially if it's a tapestry, and that everybody says, well, do you got a pattern? What they call a cartoon. I said, no, I'm just doing it off the top of my head. So it's sort of like doodling. And that's a lot of my creativity comes from doodling. I call, like when I'm doing scarves or dish towels and that's just plain weaving. You sit there and you weave. It still gives the same relaxation. But when I sit and start doing tapestries and that, I get a little bit more of the creative side going. It's all creative. It's just different levels. My pleasures is I'm a yarn hoarder. Every time I go traveling, I go to yarn stores. I went to England, came back with yarn and wool. Went to the Isle of Man, came back with yarn. I love to travel, and this whole COVID thing has gotten me kind of stir crazy. Because, I'm one of these people that right now I'd be in New Mexico between summer and fall semester. And that's not happening. They're in lockdown down there. If I went down there, I'd have to stay there 14 days before I could even go anywhere. But I love the feeling of textures and that. I love seeing what other people are doing. It's not necessarily weaving. It could be pottery. It could be the history of places, like Taos Pueblo, or we went to the Bandelier National Park, saw the ancient ruins, things like that, looking at the history, and then taking it and using ideas or designs, or basically ideas or designs in making my art. The pleasure is it's relaxing, but it also stimulates my creativity.